Eskom needs a new CEO. Who is foolish enough to apply, and can they turn around this failing state-owned enterprise? I don't think anybody can, and I'm here to tell you why right after this. Standard Bank CEO Sim Shabalala recently suggested that Eskom should consider hiring a foreign appointee to fill the seat of CEO. While Mr. Shabalala was certainly well-intentioned with this suggestion, I think it misses the mark, because no matter how capable or talented or qualified the new CEO might be, they will still be operating within the current constraints of the existing system. And that system is rapidly failing. In July of 2022, I asked the current CEO of Eskom, Andre de Ruyter, and now the outgoing CEO, why he took on this important job in the first place. His response was somewhat tongue-in-cheek.
So I think the major motivation for me to take the job was probably a dangerous cocktail between patriotism and naive optimism that I could make a contribution.
Perhaps it was this same sense of patriotism and a lot less naivety that has now motivated Mr. de Ruyter to call it quits. I don't blame him. The terms of reference for his job were impossible to begin with. And when Gwede Mantashe, the Minister of Minerals and Energy, publicly accused Mr. de Ruyter of treason and of deliberately trying to sabotage the government by letting Eskom fail.
So Eskom, by not attending to load shedding, is actively agitating for the overthrow of the state.
This must have been the very last straw, and especially considering that the president, Mr. Ramaphosa, did not come to the CEO's defense. He was really left with no option but to resign. Unlike a private sector CEO who is accountable to his shareholders, to his board, and ultimately to his customers as well, the CEO of Eskom is accountable to one shareholder, and that shareholder is the government. And when you have one shareholder, who really calls the shots? As I've argued on this channel, the problems at Eskom are not necessarily technical in nature. They are political. The leader of Eskom is constrained by the policies that are imposed on him by the government of the day. And really, there's very little that he can do to operate within that institutional framework. As has been well documented by the Zondo Commission, Eskom has essentially been sucked dry by deployed ANC cadres who have abused the preferential procurement system to essentially withdraw resources and benefits out of the utility. The result is the chronic load shedding and widespread nationwide blackouts that we experience on a daily basis. All of this happens under the guise of transformation, while ordinary South Africans, rich, poor, black or white, experience the widespread load shedding that we have unfortunately become used to in this country. When I asked Mr. de Ruyter what he thought about race-based preferential procurement policies, he was very polite, but also quite direct. He had this to say.
Interposing non-value-adding intermediaries in the process of procurement inflates cost. It introduces additional risk in terms of potential corrupt practices, and it also slows down our supply chain.
There's a lot of magical thinking in South African politics, but this got very extreme indeed when Gwede Mantashe in January predicted that within 6 to 12 months, load shedding would be a thing of the past. His cabinet colleague, Enoch Godongwana, the finance minister, was also quite optimistic when he addressed a rather skeptical audience at the World Economic Forum in Davos at its annual gathering. He predicted that load shedding will come to an end within 12 to 18 months. Well, we'll have to see. The same politicians who got us into this disaster are not the ones who are going to get us out of it. We need to get politicians as far away from the energy sector as possible. Unfortunately, we are seeing the opposite. In his State of the Nation address, Mr. Ramaphosa created a new Minister of Electricity.
I will appoint a Minister of Electricity in the presidency.
At the time of recording, this minister has yet to be announced. But I'm somewhat skeptical. I don't think that this person will be able to solve some of the deep problems. In fact, I think having yet another minister responsible for energy generation will confuse matters further and create much more tension and conflict within an already fractious cabinet. Added to this, we also have everybody's favorite minister, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, the COGTA minister, who is now freshly rearmed with her state of disaster powers, and that could confuse matters even further. Plus, there's the Minister of the Environment, who will have their own set of requirements and systems that need to be satisfied. So all of this, I predict, is going to create a lot more bureaucracy and confusion within the cabinet. Fixing the energy crisis in South Africa will require the state to get out of the way by relaxing licensing requirements and enabling private providers of electricity to trade in energy directly with one another, unmediated by the state. This will be difficult and complicated, but by no means impossible. Electricity is, after all, a consumer good like any other, and South Africa has been producing electricity since the late 19th century. This is not as hard as, for example, landing a manned mission on Mars, as Elon Musk hopes to do. Mr. Musk will probably succeed in getting humanity to the red planet one of these days. However, even Musk, with his engineering skills and business acumen, would struggle to turn Eskom around under the current ideological and policy configuration. Eskom can hire the best CEO in the world, but without fundamental reform to the existing policy framework, that person is going to have the same unfortunate fate as their predecessor. That's it from me, David Ansara. Before you go, just a quick reminder that the FMF will be hosting economist Andre de Ruyter tonight at its offices in Johannesburg. Join us if you are based in Joburg at 5:30 for 6. There's a link in the description below where you can find out more. If you're out of town, you can also tune in for the live stream. There's also a link down in the description below. My name is David Ansara. This is the Free Market Foundation. Until next time, stay free.